Hello again. Sorry it's been a while since my last video, but I've been finishing up my semester of school, the stress of which has caused my diet to consist of only 7-Eleven chicken burgers that turn my bowel movements into enriched uranium and has turned my kidneys into infinite cobblestone generators, and I am finally starting to understand why deer jump in front of cars. Welcome to the Lands Between. Just like the real-life Lands Between, this place is caught in the middle of an endless war between people who think their interpretation of religion is best. My government has instructed me to bring peace and prosperity to the Lands Between by using a handheld version of Daddy Oppenheimer's Jap Slayer Megabomb and other forms of heavy ordnance. And so today, we will be toppling the government and turning civilians into acceptable casualties in order to find the stolen WMDs in the hands of the demigods that are definitely there. With our holy mission in mind, I invite you with me on this journey through the hellscape that is the Middle East as we attempt to re-kill the corpse of Saddam Hussein and all his inbred dipshit demigod children in the main story, with nothing but a blood alcohol level of 0.4 and the God-given rights provided by the Second Amendment.
I'm Tor, and I'm here to ask you one question, and one question only. Explosions!
Time to be yourself.
Build your character, choose your class, and most importantly, remember to be a dumbass like me and forget to pick a starting gift. After unaliving ourselves to skip the tutorial boss, we awaken in the Shrine of Resurrection and need to make our way from Limgrave to the mountaintops of the giants in order to obtain the one piece that will allow us to destroy the Bushido spirit of these Japanese anime antagonists. Unfortunately, my cute anime femboy frame is incapable of holding any weapon, which makes my pronouns just he, because I can never be him. Until I obtain a cannon-type weapon, I am unable to fight any enemy, and so once again, cardio becomes my best friend, because people who do cardio plan to run from all fights. In order to get to the mountaintops and skip 90% of the game, we first need to get to the Altus Plateau, and so we make our way over to Fort Hate for the first half of 2 Mad's elusive N-word pass, and then over to Caelid for the second. With the completed pass in hand, we now have access to the one word in the universe that we can say to prove we aren't an AI. Strap on your pair of Adidas unisex child predator running shoes and make your way across the entire map until you reach the Grand Lift of Dectus and reach the Altus Plateau. Head on up the lift, then make your way over to the Ariza side tomb and grab the Grace. From here, we can perform a glitch that will teleport us over to the mountaintops. The first crucial step of doing this glitch is to make your game look like absolute dog shit. Once your game looks like a PS1 game, become my dad and perform the zip glitch to move through space and time across the country in order to avoid child support payments. Unfortunately, the zip glitch requires a computer strong enough to beat Justin Roiland's court cases, and my PC is incapable of doing that. For this reason, I was forced to go with Plan B, and this required the Ballista. Head on down to the Weeping Peninsula and grab your very own buyback program, Homemade Firearm. While the Ballista may not be a true cannon, the actual cannon is also classified as a Ballista, so I am allowed to use it for this section. However, we only need the Ballista to get to the mountaintops, so once you get the one-eyed shield, you don't need it anymore. After getting the Ballista, the first thing I needed was some runes to level up, and unfortunately, due to the nature of this build, I am unable to bully everyone's favorite special ed paraplegic dragon for his lunch money. Luckily for me, there is another boss here that is quite literally living on the edge, and all we have to do is give him a little shove in the right direction to acquire 40,000 runes. Additionally, if you head over to Hogwarts at night and find the Deathrite bird, leading him toward this rock will cause him to fall into the back rooms, and his sacrifice will net us a few more levels. Once you convince Mr. Hands and Big Bird's emo goth girlfriend to unalive themselves, we needed to obtain the Arrow Sting Talisman to increase the damage of the Ballista. Finally, with all the levels and the additional damage from the talisman, I was able to claim my first victim of the run. Bernal had something I needed, and so he needs to disappear faster than the guy who invented a car that runs on water.
You're all mine.
Well, what's he doing?
Shh, keep quiet. He's listening for us.
How come
good is his hearing? What? How did he hear that? Uh-oh. Alright, bro, time out. Okay, go. Fuck. Fuck you. Okay, 1 down, 2 to go. With Bernal's scepter in my hands, I was one step closer to achieving my dream of becoming the shield hero and having an underage raccoon woman simp for me. The next required item was located deep within the bowels of Bleak Falls Barrow, and it was here that I would find the Weeaboo sword guarded by several Draugr Death Lords. After some trial and error, the second item I needed was in hand. At this point, all I needed was some ammo and upgrades to buff this piece of garbage weapon so that it can kill the Black Knife Assassin in the Altus Plateau and get the final item I need. I'll save you the hour I spent gathering materials. I upgraded the ballista to +8 and purchased a bunch of bolts from the merchant in Lindell outskirts. I also got my hands on the recipe to bone bolts to add another 20 shots to my arsenal. Once I got my grubby little goblin hands on all the upgrades I needed, it was time to use the ballista on its final victim, which of course can be easily cheesed by shooting him and then running back into the catacombs. For some reason, this completely bugs out his AI, and all you have to do is keep going down the elevator and then back up. Repeat until you've plugged his ass with so many arrows that he dies of blood loss from all the anal fissuring you've given him. With all the Dragon Balls safely stored inside my prison wallet, it was finally time to head to the mountaintops. But first, we needed to get inside the city. Normally, we can't do this because we haven't killed any main bosses yet, but thanks to my Megamind-sized brain, we can bend reality and space to our will. First, we need to head back to the Weeping Peninsula and huff some paint fumes at this tower. Now all we need to do is perform the wrong warp glitch by fast traveling to the Castleward Tunnel and Alt F4ing when the loading bar hits 100%. Once you're inside the city, we need to make our way down to the main street. We can do this by either doing the normal way or taking the Giga Chad way like me and parkouring your way all the way down to the ground. Head on through the door, up the elevator, and take out these 3 bozos. Now we need to skip the final barrier to make it to the mountaintops. In order to do this, we need to use the 3 items we collected earlier and use the move swap glitch. The move swap glitch allows us to take the Ash of War off one weapon and glitch it onto another weapon. Some combinations are extremely overpowered, but the one we're going to be using today allows us to walk on the air and skip this entire barrier. Once you reach the other side, it is very important that you do not die until you touch grass, as you will be forced to redo the entire glitch, which can take hours if you were unlucky like I was. Once you make it to the other side unmolested by the homeless, head on down the elevator where you can reach safety. Welcome to my homeland of Canada, a strange and wonderful place where bestiality was semi-legal until 2019. Canada has a wide variety of distinct people, but the oil rig pigs of Alberta, whose favorite activities include fracking and snorting cocaine off of Dawson Creek hookers, yeah, those are my people. The only problem with Canada is that half the country speaks French while the other half lets them. Once you grab the Grace, head up to the lift and perform the wrong warp glitch once again, this time going to the Round Table Hold. Congratulations on skipping half the game. Now we make our way over to the Guardian's Garrison where we can finally obtain our primary weapon in this run. Once you reach the castle, make your way up to the very top where we will find our next victim. Get his attention with your femboy charm and lure him over towards you. Once you reveal yourself to be, in fact, a male and not an underage anime woman, drop down to the rocks and wait for the realization to set in. What's the matter, buddy? You can't handle a bussy that can squirt? Why don't you come on down and see just what this bussy can do? This devout man realizes that he has sinned against Allah, and he will seek to regain his honor in ritual self-unaliving, leaving us with our primary weapon for this run. Unfortunately, my twig frame does not contain the muscle mass needed to wield this weapon one-handed, and so we must acquire even more runes. I could spend hours farming the same spot that every single Elden Ring YouTuber recommends, but I refuse to partake in the artificial longevity of a video game that is grinding. For this reason, we will instead once again be breaking the game in order to obtain vast amounts of wealth in minutes instead of hours. First, we need to make our way to Mohg's palace by invading the homes of 5 other players or by dying to this random AI. Do yourself a favor and head up to the Altus Plateau and take this AI's ribbed for his pleasure dildo straight to the esophagus. Only after getting skull fucked 5 times can you return to your pimp, and you'd better deliver on your duties if you want to get fed this week. After paying our pimp daddy the money we owe him, he sends us on another mission. In order to please him, we need to acquire the blood of a virgin by stealing one of their maxi pads out of the garbage can and offering it to him for a reward. The reward he gives you for your trouble is he will unzip your meat hoodie and allow you to join Team Snip. Once you've been properly circumcised and brought into the secret society, use the astrology rock to teleport into Mohg's palace. Make your way to the top of the mausoleum, grab the grace, then enter Mohg's boss fight arena. Once the game starts, quit out of the arena and reload your save. Now we are outside the boss arena, but Mohg's AI is still loaded in. Then, make your way back down to the grace, but do not sit at it. Make your way to this cliff and parkour your way down to the lower level and out of bounds. In order to obtain hella bread, we need to get far enough away from Mohg that his AI deloads and kills him, earning us the runes we need to level up. Make your way across the rocks until you find this giant hole in the ground and do a delayed double jump into it. Now you need to keep spamming light attack in order to reset the out of bounds kill timer and fall until Mohg dies, and you get the 800,000 runes that you deserve.
Here comes the money.
Additionally, if you wish to keep farming, spawn back at the beginning and parkour your way across this tree and up the rocks. Then, do another delayed double jump and start spamming. Each time you do this, you get 100,000 runes, and you can perform this glitch as many times as you want. Now that we have gained the muscle mass necessary to fight off all the big, strong men of the Lancer Tween, if you wanted to. All that's left to prepare is some buffs and upgrades for the shield itself, because on its own, this weapon sucks ass. Starting with the Somber Stones, you can purchase the first 4 from E.G. the Giant, who takes payment in cash, ass, or grass, though I must warn you, he is giant in more ways than one. Somber Stone 5 is hidden in the geographical, metaphoric representation of a Discord moderator's swamp ass. 6 is located near the first Mount Gelmir campsite. 7 is located in this skull near the elevator in Canada. 8 and 9 are located back in Caelid, underneath the World Trade Center.
I woke up in a new Bugatti.
And finally, number 10 is guarded by the Alamals right before Mohg's boss arena. Once you've acquired all the stones, head on back to the round table hold and get this dude with genital warts to upgrade your weapon from a rice cooker to a rice cooker. Finally, almost 13 fucking minutes into the video, I had enough upgrades to actually start progressing the main story. And just like the CIA with crack and HIV, we are going to be testing our new weapon on the low-income neighborhoods of Limgrave. Our first real victim of the run is the gatekeeper of Elden Ring, Margit. Now children, avert your eyes because this video is about to go from Coco Melon to Coco Felon as we ass blast Margit back into the Paleolithic era with our 21st century Milcor 40mm multiple grenade launcher. Margit was no match for our newfound femboy mommy dom energy, and we have reduced him to nothing more than a submissive pay pig who hand delivers us his paycheck each month for a mere glimpse of one of our delectable toes. However, Margit was able to survive with only a single pube hair's worth of health left, and I cannot allow that to happen again, and so we need to acquire even more buffs to make myself a true unstoppable force. The first item in our little scavenger hunt is the jellyfish shield, which gives us a nice 20% damage buff and can be found in Liurnia, being guarded by the spirits of dead jellyfish who are killed by Japanese fishermen. After this, we need to acquire the Flame Grant Me Strength spell in Caelid, which gives us another 20% damage buff to both fire and physical damage, and is being guarded by 2 homemade flamethrowers. Here's a top gear top tip for you. You can run diesel fuel through a pressure washer and tape a blowtorch to the end to make a DIY flamethrower at home.
Holy shit, we are prepared for the enemy to attack.
The last spell we need is Golden Vow, which grants us another 15% damage buff and is located in this crack shack on Mount Gelmir. Next up on the list, we need to steal my stepdad's alcohol out of the cabinet to mix ourselves a cocktail strong enough to make me not feel the sting of his belt when he finds out that I have in fact swapped the Kirkland Texas Mickey vodka with water from the well. The second part of our cocktail is some Fireball whiskey, which is being held by Gorlock the Destroyer in Caelid. Luckily, her legs lack the muscle required to jump, so as long as you stay in this tree, there is no danger of getting sat on. The final item we need is the Great Jar's Arsenal, which can be acquired from the giant rainbow dash in a jar located in Caelid. Before he gives it to you, you must defeat the 4 Cum Jar champions, which can be fought legitimately, or you can crouch behind this rock and watch all 4 of them commit unalive. This talisman increases our stamina and equip load, allowing us to wear more armor and carry both shields at the same time, which will be important for this run. Finally, back to continuing on with our quest, we head inside Stormvale Castle to commit copious amounts of war crimes similar in scale to what me and the boys did back in that Bosnian village in 1994. Before we head in, we should test our new buffs on one of the locals, and this piece of shit looks like the perfect test subject.
That's a lot of damage.
Once you are done purging the homeless, head on through the path to the left and pretend you are a gay man by coming in the back door. We can do this to avoid most of the enemies from coming in your back door. Keep heading up until you get the rusty key, then continue up to the top of the castle. Grab the next grace, then sprint through the horde of knife birds across the rooftops and down to the street. Keep following the path until you make it back outside and stick to the left side of the courtyard to avoid the Bosnian freedom fighters. Once you make it to the grace, take the lift up and now you're at the boss room. Buff yourself up and head on through. Boss fight number 2 is against Godric the Grafted, who has turned himself into an eldritch horror by taking body positivity too far and grafting the body parts of other warriors onto his body. This means that not only does he have more armpits to sniff than Princess Rani, but he also has stapled enough dicks onto his body to make the entire population of alphabet people jealous. But no matter how many dicks he staples to himself, it won't change the fact that his parents don't love him.
I command thee. I am the Lord of all that is golden.
After you finish shoving your plunger up Godric's shit cannon, head through the last few rooms of the castle and have another Breath of the Wild moment.
Hot diggity dog! This place is magnificent.
Unfortunately, Godric's surgically constructed pussy was so fire that it now burns when I pee, and so we need to head to Hogwarts in order to get the warts off my hog. Make your way down to the lake and head towards the castle, avoiding the blue lobster jump scares as best as you can. The door to the castle is locked, and so we need to head straight past the castle until you find this dragon who is guarding the key. Get in, grab the key, and get out as fast as you can. Now we can head up the stairs and run past the guards who are trying and failing to keep me from getting within 500 feet of this school. Head on through the gate, grab the grace, then take the elevator up. Welcome to Harry Potter Gmod RP, a wonderful place filled with many normal and mentally stable people that can definitely be trusted around weapons and children.
Dude, shut the fuck up, dude. You're a woman. I haven't learned shit. Yeah, it's because your brain's too small. Also, you're a woman.
The first thing you'll notice about these wizards is that they are quite strange. They wear white robes and have strange masks that cover their faces. Also, there are no black wizards anywhere to be found here. I've been told that all the black wizards got sorted into Hufflepuff by the New York Yankees sorting hat, but I can't seem to find any of them. There's only one explanation. These wizards are actually Imperial wizards being led by the Grand Wizard, Queen Renala, and don't allow certain colors of Home Depot paint into their Dungeons & Dragons fan club. Regardless, these Dark Souls easy mode players are standing in my way, and so we need to get past them. Avoid the wacky waving inflatable arm tube men and make your way through Mr. Bones' wild ride. Hop on the elevator and continue through to the next grace. Keep heading through the school until you get to the first boss, which is the least violent pit bull named Princess, who is feared among all children under the age of 10. However, a 40mm high-explosive anti-personnel grenade is more than enough to bring freedom and safety back to the preschool playground. After sending Princess to the farm to chase the butterflies, we head over this bridge and avoid the new Big Weld type enemy. Now standing before us is the Carrion Knight Moongrum, a man who spent years studying the blade to protect his queen from the so-called nice guys on Twitter that think they have a chance with his e-girlfriend. He is a very difficult enemy to fight and... oh, he died in one shot. Moving on, we can now take the elevator up to the final boss of Hogwarts, the Grand Dragon, Renala. Renala knows that I am a gamer with that e-boy aesthetic, and so she attacks me in the most effective way that she knows how, by sending hordes of women after me. Ugh, a woman. However, I am a man of God, and though the devil tries to tempt me with these white women who are all cookie-cutter clones of each other, I am determined to stay pure for my Lord and Savior. In order to actually damage Renala, we need to don our tunic of marital respect and treat these women similar to how John Lennon treated his wife. Performing acts of domestic violence against 3 of these singing devil spawn will lower Renala's shields for us to attack. Repeat this process until you get to the real boss fight.
Of the last queen of Caria, Renala of the Full Moon.
With Renala defeated, we now have the ability to respec our character, but we also have full access to Leyndell and the rest of the game. Thankfully, we've already been to Leyndell, so we can just fast travel back and continue the game as normal. However, before we continue on with the story, make sure you farm these band kids for their skin flute weapon, as it will be a surprise tool that will help us later. This portion of the run was the best to play through for me, because I was absolutely railing these bosses with overwhelming firepower and my newfound masculinity. I'm sure that luck isn't going to run out anytime soon. In order to get to the next boss, continue on down to the Avenue balcony, then up the Dragon Wing and to the next grace. Climb your way up the tree and prepare to shadow box with a spooky specter outside the battered women's shelter. After defeating the RGB ghost, we now have to face the next boss immediately, which is actually just Margit again. Ever since my hot, naked body humiliated him at the beginning of the game, he has been preparing for his vengeance. But from my perspective, he's just a booty call back for another good dicking. He has come prepared this time with an array of new spells, but little does he know that I too have come prepared. Recently, I've started wearing sunglasses during sex, that way my victims can't pepper spray me.
Have it writ upon thy meager grave. Felled by King Morgoth, last of all kings.
You really not gonna take my hand? 'Cause you're lucky you even still have a hand.
With Morgoth once again defeated, he pays me his entire paycheck once again, and it was finally time to head back to the mountaintops and continue beating this game. After defeating Margit, our girlfriend sent by the feds shows up once more to give us the rolled medallion, which allows us to get to the mountaintops of the giants to progress the game. However, we have already been to the mountaintops, so once again, the feds can't control me or my stash of restricted firearms and homemade explosives that I keep under the kitchen sink. Unfortunately, Margit has yet again survived my explosive discharge with a single health point, and so we need to acquire yet another item to buff fire damage. Head back to Mount Gelmir and make your way to Fort Leyad. Run past the Dark Souls fan service type enemy and make your way to the top of the fort where you can find the Fire Scorpion charm, which increases fire damage by 12%, but also increases the damage you take by 10. Once you have the next item, fast travel back to the mountaintops and make your way toward the giant flagon of mead at the peak and prepare to fight the toughest boss we've encountered so far. Fire Giant, also known as the Man on Fire, also known as that gay guy from Snake Eater, is a living example of what happens when you buy unregulated anabolic steroids from third world countries. He is the biggest boy we have encountered so far, and in response to this, the United Nations has declared that in order to fight monsters, we need to build monsters, and use my crippling depression in order to start the third impact and screw with the RGB settings of the planet. For real though, we just need to get in close enough to snap a few feet pics and sell them to the horny degenerates online. Time your attacks carefully and avoid Fire Giant's dinner plate weapon. Apply all of your buffs and start chipping away at his massive health bar. Up until this point, I had been absolutely pile driving my massive hog into the many orifices of the bosses of this game, but Fire Giant had a tail plug inserted that blocked nearly all of my damage. In hindsight, I should have expected the Fire Giant to be resistant to fire damage, but my severe brain rot got in the way of thinking logically. While researching Fire Giant, I noticed that while he has a 50% fire damage negation, he has absolutely no resistance to eStim BDSM toys. I knew that in order to beat the Fire Giant, I was going to need to acquire a new weapon that can deliver 10,000 volts of electricity directly to his gooch, and that weapon was the Jar Cannon. Head back to Mount Gelmir, climb this ladder, and remake the same Snake Eater joke that's been done 10,000 times before.
But you're so supreme. I give my life.
Make your way into Volcano Cave and down to the bottom in order to face off against a cave-dwelling Neanderthal lady and introduce her to the 21st century. Now that we had the jar cannon, we needed to upgrade it in order to do some actual damage and acquire the ammunition needed to tongue punch Fire Giant's fart box. Go on another odyssey across the world collecting nifty rocks that are sure to get the astrology women's panties looking like Splash Mountain. Getting the ammo was pretty straightforward. I sold all of the remembrances I got from mass murdering the political figures of the Lands Between and purchased as many bolts of all types that I could afford. Because the Fire Giant resists my fire damage, and so that charm that I got like 2 minutes ago was completely useless, I was forced to head into the Windham Catacombs in order to grab the Lightning Scorpion charm, which increases my shock damage by 10%. As an additional buff, I went back to Limgrave and got the Arrow's Reach Talisman in order to greatly extend the range of the cannon. I then acquired the Commander's Standard weapon by defeating Commander O'Neill and Caelid, which when used gives us a 20% damage boost and negates damage by 20%. After this, I decided I was going to need every advantage I could get now that the bosses were starting to give me an actual challenge, and so I went back to farming runes for a few hours and got my stats significantly upgraded. With everything I needed, I headed back to Fire Giant, and I knew I was going to be able to start him up like a lawnmower by yanking out that protective plug he had shoved up his cave. As much as this is a challenge video, it's also a tutorial on how to cheese every possible boss, and Fire Giant is no different. Lure him over this rock, and then jump down below and start blasting. What Fire Giant has in muscle mass, he lacks in brain power, and is incapable of getting around this terrain, so all you need to do is find a good spot and autopilot shots for the next few minutes. Once you've gotten to phase 2, you need to redo the same setup, but this time you need to be more careful because his spicy Benoit balls are able to phase through solid matter and deliver death to you with Amazon Prime same-day shipping efficiency. But once you got him trapped, just keep blasting him until he succumbs to the amount of cheese that is dripping out of the end of my cheddar cheese hot dog. Easy fucking money. Now that the 7th Angel has been defeated, we can now head up to the Goblet of Fire and toss our Federal Agent girlfriend into the flames like the witch she is. Doing so burns the Erd Tree, destroying the thorns that previously denied us access. But before we can head back to Leyndell, we need to get through the coolest section of the game and fight a few more bosses. Welcome to Crumbling, Farum, Azula, a place filled with the worst enemies and an even worse boss fight that will push your mental stability to the absolute limit. This is the place where boys go to become men, and I am no different. Today is the day I stop being a cute femboy anime character and become a Giga Chad addicted to anabolic steroids and menthol cigarettes. Sneak your way through the halls in order to avoid the Furfest 2023 degenerates and grab the first grace. Then, make your way through the totally not a mini-boss arena and continue on to the next grace. Continue your way through the crumbling ruins of Aleppo, avoiding the lame infantry skeleton enemy types until you reach the last grace before the boss. Godskin Duo is one of the hardest bosses in the game solely because there is 2 of them at the same time. I know I can finish off 1 man all by myself, but 2, not even I can handle that much testosterone in 1 room. US politicians inspired my strategy for this boss fight of divide and conquer, and all I needed to do was loop around the room until I made an opening and took advantage. However, the reload animation takes longer to recover from than a pegging session with a really angry feminist, and so timing is extremely hard to get down in this. Because of this, more often than not, the boss fight became a war of attrition until I ran out of Estus flasks, and ultimately submitted to the 2 black 18-inchers that were spit roasting me. Every time I failed that fight, the Godskin Duo forced me to my knees and made me lick the smegma out of Foreskin Noble's fat rolls. For a few hours each day over the course of a week, I tried to overcome this hentai manga story that I found myself stuck in, and each attempt led to failure. Eventually though, I managed to come back from the mind break session that I had been forcefully submitted to, and I had an epiphany. An idea that just maybe could get me out of this abusive relationship that I can't seem to stop coming back to. Step 1 of this plan was acquiring the final cannon that I can use in this run, the flamethrower, which is easily obtainable by defeating a much easier duo boss in Kaylee. Step 2 was once again going on a spirit journey to acquire rocks in order to upgrade the flamethrower. The final step was acquiring as many cracked jars as I could find and gathering the recipe and materials needed in order to craft sleep pods. Finally, after all this preparation, I was ready to face my tormentors again, but this time it would be me shooting my baby batter into the back of their throats and not the other way around.
Ravioli. Ah, mamma mia.
With the foreskin duo finally defeated, I could practically taste the victory screen that awaited my prolapsed anal cavity at the end of this game. I only had a few bosses left that needed to be bent over, and I had all the weapons, spells, and buffs I needed in order to win. Head back outside and make your way toward the giant dragon, as sitting behind him is an ancient dragon Somberstone, which allows us to upgrade the flamethrower to max level. Keep following the path until you find the elevator that takes you up to the next boss, my personal favorite, Malekith the Blackblade. For this boss fight, I wanted to be fully prepared, so not only did I activate Godric's Great Rune, which increases our health, magic, and stamina for 1 life, but I also grabbed the Lionel armor set from Lindell in order to boost our damage negation and completed my final preparations by getting my 10mm rod into position.
Ladies, get yourself a fat fucking retard.
With all the necessary tools at my disposal, I knew it was only a matter of time until I was able to unlock my inner lonely white woman ability to defeat a dog using only peanut butter.
It. Yeah!
Oh my fucking god.
Foreskin restored.
Fuck sakes.
With Malekith slurping up the peanut butter I had marinating on my meat, I was teleported back to the ruins of Lindell, which was destroyed when a second plane hit the Mojo Dojo Casa House, thoroughly ruining Boys Night. There were only 3 remaining bosses eagerly awaiting my salty surprise, and like a delivery man, I was ready to put my package in the mail. First, I grabbed another Ancient Dragon Somber Stone and a health upgrade charm, both of which would be extremely useful in the final bosses of this game. Finally, I was ready to begin fighting the Elite Four of Elden Ring, and the first member was a member of the Shadow Wizard Money Gang, the lore man himself, Sir Gideon Ofnir.
Shadow Wizard Money Gang. Love casting spells. This song is sponsored by the Shadow Government. Legalize nuclear bombs.
With Magic Mike defeated, it was now time to face the next Elite Four member, Godfrey, first Elden Lord and the ancient ancestor of Senator Armstrong.
To be granted audience once more. Upon my name as Godfrey, the first Elden Lord.
When I got to this boss fight, I was expecting him to be a pushover like his ghost when I fought him before. However, I was gravely mistaken by this absolute hunk of a man. No matter how hard I tried, I could not beat this boss. I tried for over a week and only got him to the second phase a few times and never even came close to killing him. None of the weapons I had worked against him. They either didn't do enough damage while forcing me to be stationary, or took too long to reload, allowing Godfrey to give my cheeks a full round of applause until my booty was raw and red. The problem with this boss is similar to the Foreskin Brothers, where I only have a chance to attack when he does a specific animation, and all other openings result in us trading hits, which ultimately leads to my inevitable death. I didn't know what to do to progress this boss fight, and I took a break from the challenge for a while because of it, until many days later, when I had another epiphany.
Nanomachine, son!
However, before we continue on with the story, make sure you farm these band kids for their skin flute weapon, as it will be a surprise tool that will help us later. The move swap glitch allows us to take the Ash of War off one weapon and glitch it onto another weapon. Yet again, the move swap glitch saved the run for me and allowed me to absolutely demolish Godfrey's prostate, and finally, I had only the final boss standing between me and the Elden Throne. I knew this boss fight was going to be the biggest challenge that I had faced yet, and so I took some time to acquire even more buffs for this final battle. I fully completed Alexander's quest line in order to get his shard that increases my damage by another 15%. I swapped my sleep pots for oil pots that increase fire damage when an enemy is hit by one, and I swapped my nano machines for the blood boil aromatic, which increases my damage output by a massive 30%. For the final buff, I purchased Lord's Divine Fortification, which increases holy damage negation by 60%. As the final boss only damages with holy damage, this spell is an absolute must-have for this boss. Finally, with every buff applied and my great journey of spitting tobacco and swallowing cum was at its end, I was ready to enter the Erd Tree and face the final boss of Elden Ring. Of course, the final boss has a second phase that is ready to split my bussy in half. However, I am prepared to give God a hands-on learning experience as to why he should never have given men genitals, and I am going to exact my revenge on the Catholic Church by making God's asshole as loose as all the Sunday school choir boys. And just like that, I had completed Elden Ring and become the Elden Lord. I beat the game with only cannon-type weapons, and I only had to fart the boss's cum out of my ass a few times. Thank you so much for watching, and I am really sorry for how long it took me to make this video, but I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please leave a comment and subscribe. I'm going to be making more videos, I promise. However, I cannot promise on when I will upload them, as I don't do YouTube full-time, and I have limited time to actually sit down and edit. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you understand my lack of uploads. Until next time, see you later.